Anfield can be a real cauldron, and when we talk about contesting a European night football there, and we are looking forward to that matchup in just a few minutes' time. It is, of course, a repeat of last year's final, but let's go straight into the discussion, gentlemen, because for Liverpool it has been a pretty strange season, hasn't it been for them? They're pretty much mid-table, the English Premier League, and they haven't been firing on all cylinders. What do you think that was mainly down to, Eric?
Jurgen Klopp's 7th season. I mean, there is. I think a big part was it when Mane left in the summer. I think that outside of the attacking football, there's a certain balance that was created within Liverpool where he played an important role. So I think that had an impact. But I do think there is a certain way when you get maybe used to the coach. I think Jurgen Klopp is a coach who very much goes off a passion, and from that point of view, he gets motivation out of his team. And you see that on the sideline, but after a while, even that might something that players get used to, and they don't hit the same spots to get most out of a group. So I wouldn't be surprised if that plays a part in it. But as I said, I think Mane's departure left a bigger impact than that they would have expected.
Can they flip a switch, Lish, and just get back on track? Because I can't see Liverpool playing as badly as they have for the rest of the season, including in the Champions League.
I think they can flip a switch. It's tough with Liverpool because it's interesting because I don't think their attack has fallen off whatsoever. They still have the most shots in the Premier League, second most in the Champions League. I still think their defenders are defending to their level. But the issue is just their midfield. It's aging. And then when they try and mix in youth with that, so Harvey Elliott was playing earlier, but he doesn't offer the defensive balance that a Henderson would. But then when you play Henderson, you lose so much quality in an attacking sense, and he doesn't have the legs to recover in a defensive sense. Fabinho has fallen off an entire cliff, so he can't do anything by himself anymore. Then Thiago is always injured, so now they have Bajcetic playing in there. He's a young player, so it's a lot to ask for him. And then when you ask for players like Oxlade or Naby Keita to come in, they aren't consistent enough. So I think the issue is really with their engine room, because I still think that their defense and attack is playing at a higher level.
Mo Salah asked for the money. He got the money, and since then we haven't seen the same player. It wouldn't have helped him that he would have lost his strike partner in Sadio Mane. What do you think has been the issue with him and the Liverpool attack, despite the stats that Leger just reeled out in terms of them still having the most shots in the English Premier League?
Well, it's that, but then also he has to start, on top of losing players, he has to adapt to others, and also missing some in case of Luis Diaz, who's been out for a good portion of the season. Darwin Núñez has had a bit of growing pains at the beginning of the season, which was expected. Many thought that he was going to have an immediate impact, although you know that Darwin Núñez towards the end of the season does get warm, and towards his second season in the club ends up getting better. And Cody Gakpo's also helped out a little bit more, but Salah, once he was put front and center to have to do more than his share, he ends up putting himself in positions where maybe he's not going to be in the best situation at that time. At times, he puts himself maybe a little too wide when he should be in the middle, and vice versa. Roberto Firmino hasn't been much of a factor either. So it's not just Salah himself that, because of the money, he's performing at a lower level. It's that many others are either trying to adapt or trying to get back healthy, or haven't been in the proper form that's necessary for them to be able to perform at the highest level.
Let's now hear from the Liverpool manager, Jurgen Klopp. He's been speaking about Liverpool's form in recent time.
I'm happy that we can play now. Like 4 weeks ago, it would have been different, but life is all about timing, and maybe we found back our feet right in time for this game. Even when I would have expected us to be ourselves as well, even if we wouldn't have won the last 2 games, because it's a different competition and you have to use this opportunity. But so now we have these 2 results, and hopefully we can build on that. But we need to play a super game. We need to play 2 super games, to be honest, to get through. But I have no problem with that, because if you don't play your best, you don't have a chance. Real Madrid doesn't have to play their best and still have a chance, and that's the difference, and that's pretty special. But I can't wait.
Jurgen did say after the Champions League final last time out that his fans should buy the ticket to Istanbul because they're going to be there. Well, he has at least 2 more games to play. Let's see if that prediction will come through or that advice will come through for his fans. But he made a really good point there that Liverpool, based on what we've seen so far this season, they really have to be at their best, while Real Madrid probably not so.
Yeah, it has to connect for them. Maybe not, all 11 for the entire game, but there needs to be some kind of partnerships that works. So, we see Nunez has to not just play a good game, but he has to be able to connect with the persons around him. I think important for Liverpool as well, they've been very dangerous over their right side. So you have Alexander-Arnold, Henderson and Salah. If they're able to play a good game, they will not only be dangerous in attack, but they might prevent some of Real Madrid left side, which really is a big danger for Real Madrid. So I'm looking forward to that battle on that side of the field. But if Liverpool connects, we can still see great football, which we saw at moments, even in the last game against Newcastle. But I think even Newcastle with 10 men showing that Liverpool being not so great can be very fragile.
Yeah, we just saw some stats there which showed that Liverpool and Real Madrid, they have won their last 2 league matches in their respective domestic competitions. But let's move to Real Madrid because, of course, well, before we go to Real Madrid, let's talk about Cody Gakpo. Obviously, he has been an acquisition that has come from the Netherlands, and there was a bit of concern as to whether he would have been able to adapt, especially in the first few games that we did see. He did perform relatively well at the World Cup, but how are you expecting his transition to go the rest of the season, Liz?
I think it depends what happens when Diaz and Jota comes back into the fold. So the position that he'll play, because currently he's playing through the center, playing Nunez on the left, Salah on the right. Salah is trying to get as close to him as possible. But once again, I pointed out their midfield frailty, so there's no midfielder for him to really link with. And Cody Gakpo is a link player. At PSV, he played on the left. He needed an overlapping fullback and a central midfielder close to him, so he could get the space in order to create what he needed to create, shoot from outside of the box, score his goals. So that would be key for Liverpool, for him to get him firing. So it's just interesting to see what they do to fix those problems.
Well, let's talk about Real Madrid for a second, because of course they would have just won the Club World Cup. Talk to me about their form. Do you think they are as potent as they were last season, the champions?
Doesn't matter. Really, with Real Madrid, it never really mattered, because at times we've underestimated them. Oh, they aren't playing well, they haven't been at their best, and yet they still go through. They find a way, and that's what teams with pedigree do. They're able to find the way. Carlo Ancelotti even talked about, hey, look, we're going to do our best and see what we can do. Yeah, Karim Benzema might not be in the greatest form of his career, but he's still, in these nights, in these moments, able to shine through. But for me, the player that ends up making the difference, and he did end up making the difference last year at around the same time, is Federico Valverde. That's where he ends up being the X factor for this Real Madrid side, going down that right side, being that unfatigable force down that right side and creating a lot of opportunities. So much so he ended up providing the assist and the only goal of the match in that final, if we do also remember that as well. So when you start looking at all the pieces, Madrid don't need to be 100% in form in order to get a result. Even losing here at Anfield, it still puts them in a situation where they feel comfortable enough where they can turn things around at the Santiago Bernabeu, which is even probably more of a cauldron than Anfield sometimes.
You mentioned Valverde, and of course we have to also bring Vinicius Jr. into the discussion as well, because they've been providing a lot of service for Real Madrid this season, Eric.
Yeah, I think Valverde, his start to the season was phenomenal. I think he dropped in form a little bit there, but he's, as Juan said, he can go up and down on the right side, and he can really run and cover a lot of space. But you link that up with Vinicius Jr., who we see here, who to me really is really the main man for Real Madrid. Not in a specific match, but even when we look at the future coming up, he reached there when he was young, was a little inconsistent in his performance, but really adapted well, got a lot more efficient in the game, and really has shown consistency. So I think Madrid has a lot of good things going. We even see Camavinga in the midfield, who I think has been performing very well, and start even lift up and take charge of that midfield. So yeah, Real Madrid, I think as usual in the Champions League, is enjoying themselves, and might be a tough matchup, especially today in England. But I see Real Madrid still very much as the favorite in this matchup.
They have talented youngsters, Real Madrid, Camavinga being one of them, and of course Vinicius. We remember when he started and there was a little bit of a struggle with him making that transition. How impressed have you been by these youngsters to come into the fold and really trying to stake a claim?
I think it comes down a lot to coaching. Carlo Ancelotti is a coach that gives his players a lot of freedom so they can express themselves. And when you have players like Vinny Jr., such a skillful player, then you have Rodrigo as well, similarly as skillful, but he's also a very intelligent player on top of that. So I think it gives a lot of scope for the team to improve on an individualistic level. So I think that's what's really been happening, especially with Vinny Jr. in his case. He's racking up goals and assists for fun nowadays. So yeah, he's definitely the key man for Real Madrid going into this game.
I know that there are situations surrounding this Real Madrid team, and you know there have been a lot of discussion on social media. One in terms of the type of racism that's around certain players. One, and I'm wondering, as youngsters, how it would affect them when they are trying to represent themselves as well as the club. Juan?
I can hear you. Can you read the question? I'm sorry.
No, I was just mentioning the fact that there's a lot of discussion around racism around a number of their players, the last of which would have been what happened with Vinicius Jr. recently. How do you think he's been able to handle it, and will he be able to try and survive all that talk around him and perform on the football field?
When you start to see, I mean, the pieces that are in place there, you really have to start analyzing exactly what is going to happen here against this opposition. That's the most important thing. I really want to see how this entire team works out together.
Yeah.
And not only trying to fit one player's narrative, but also from a collective, seeing how those players can contribute. To me, to see Valverde, to see Vinicius Jr., to see even Rodrigo Goes to a certain extent be able to come in and be able to contribute. All these players for Real Madrid being able to do so. And Liverpool, the same thing. How is that going to work out as well? To me, seeing all of these players come through ends up being something that's going to be extremely key. And of course, we'll start looking at some of those X factors as well that might come in and really make a difference in this encounter.
We're going to take a look at the starting lineup for Liverpool. First of all, they have the trio up front in Gakpo, Nunes and Salah. It's going to come up in a short while, but Eric, based on what you understand of the type of play that they want to go with against this Real Madrid team, did you expect this lineup that they have served us this afternoon?
Yeah, I don't think there are too many surprises. I even think going into the game, even though Madrid might be the favorite, I think Liverpool is expecting to even be more of the team in possession that dictate in the game. I think from Real Madrid, you will see the lineup, but from Real Madrid perspective, they always have an easy first half, especially in an away match, first Champions League. So they're trying to make sure to nullify the danger from Liverpool. As mentioned, I think that the right side with Salah and Alexander-Arnold would be one of the main things Liverpool tries to target. But also, you mentioned Gakpo in the middle, Darwin on the left. I think we're going to see some movement and switches there from Gakpo moving out wide with Darwin's support. Not to be underestimated, on the left side they have danger as well. And as Lynch said earlier, I think in the midfield is going to be crucial for Liverpool. If they want to do something in the style, they have to have a strong performance there.
Liz, you made the point in no uncertain terms that Henderson comes into the 11, they lose something in attack. He's now in the starting lineup. Do you take that back, or do you still feel that he can contribute significantly against this Real Madrid team? Because of course experience is also very important.
Yeah, and that's what he's in there for, is just strictly his experience. He's a leader, one of the better leaders we've seen in football over the past few years. So that's what he's there for his experience, really shepherding that right-hand side, because football is all about matchups, and Real Madrid match up against Liverpool really well in terms of Vinny getting in behind Trent and then Valverde tracking that left-hand side. So it's going to be tough for them, so Henderson will be very, very important.
Well, we're going to take a look at the starting lineup for Real Madrid right now, because Karim Benzema is actually fit enough to start. And I don't know if Juan Arango sees that as a surprise, but obviously it's a massive boost for the champions, Juan.
Yeah, no, it's a huge boost for them. I mean, how much? Well, that's going to be a bigger question to ask as we progress. But more importantly is going to be the man on his right. Obviously, the man on his left is extremely vital. But the one on his right has been even more so of a contributor than Benzema so far this year in Rodrigo, who's also been another one of those youngsters that has emerged. So you're going to have those three players up top, adding Modric, adding Valverde, even maybe adding the occasional run by David Alaba over on the left-hand side. That can cause some problems for Liverpool if they're not in their best game.
Toni Kroos can be influential. He's actually beginning this game on the bench. Obviously, a boost in terms of getting that experience on the park if needed. But Valverde again is the X factor here in this Real Madrid starting lineup. You feel?
I'm not sure. As we saw last year, he can be. I don't think internally it's where everything will fall on, as we see maybe with some other teams who really have the one X factor. Even maybe Liverpool really look a lot more at Salah than Madrid at Valverde, I think, because they have so much quality on the field. You have a Modric who can really control the game and dictate everything. You have Camavinga who can make sure the opponent is not really in danger. And we have Benzema, the Ballon d'Or top scorer, that I think should experience a lot more pressure in a game like this than a Valverde. And then we have Vini, who I think in his view should be the best player coming up over the next few years. So the pressure is across the board, and then you have a coach in front of it who pressure doesn't mean nothing to him. You know, he can take all of that off for the players and say, don't worry, just play and have a great game. So they have a good balance. And even you spoke about youngsters. If Benzema can play, they had a youngster coming on, Alvaro Rodriguez, over the weekend, 18-year-old. And it's like the Real Madrid fans, they have a good time this time of the year.
Well, let's go straight into the predictions. What are your thoughts on this matchup, Liverpool-Real Madrid?
I'm going for a 1-1.
1-1. Liz?
2-1 Liverpool.
2-1 Liverpool. Quadrangle?
1-0 Liverpool.
Hey.
Nobody has Real Madrid winning.
It's 180 minutes that they have to go for.
So
Madrid usually don't do too much in the first half of a match, and this is a two match. So this is the first half of the match, and I expect Madrid to make sure that they're in a position for next match to really take it.
Well, we have to get out of here. We are going to be sending you across to Anfield now. It's a cauldron, it's bubbling, and we're anticipating this one, Liverpool against Real Madrid.